What general advice would you give to students about the study at university?
Studying in general or
In
towards
general, in general. Just any
in
advice for
general.
students about to study at university?
So I would say try and do little bits throughout your course rather than leaving it all until the end. Because it sometimes during the early years it's possible just leaving it to the end depending on your course. But there comes a time where it's just too much. So if you start doing a little bit earlier on, it's not so much of a big burden and big stress sort of right at the end. So that's one thing I definitely would advise you guys to do. Another thing about studying is watch the lectures. You don't always have to obviously check with the university if things are recorded, but if you don't always learn from going into lectures, if you prefer to watch things later on at times two speed on, we use Panopto, I'm not sure what other universities would use, but basically recording software that allows you to do that. Then if that works for you, then do that. Don't feel guilty for not attending the lectures as long as you're learning in the end, and use whatever method is suitable for you.
What advice would you give to students about to study at your university?
At my university, so this is heavily depending upon your course. I think the workload is relatively high. So once again, my previous point about do little bits but often definitely applies. I think some courses actually force you to do work at all times, as I found in my year right now. So I'm doing management, which is a year out of medicine, and here you have to work constantly. So there's no way you can just not work. So that's obviously one thing there. Yeah.
And finally, what advice would you give to students about to study your course at university?
I would say it's a big jump from school, because the way you learn in school is a lot different to university. So I would say experiment with new techniques early, and try not to just go based off looking at lectures and then writing stuff down. I would say look at the lectures beforehand, maybe annotate the slides throughout the lecture and then go over stuff, but explore all the different techniques and use stuff like active recall and spaced repetition. These are great ways of learning. And also for medicine especially, I think they're changing it now, but you need to be able to apply it to the clinical practice, which I think is a lot of what students sort of struggle with. They might know the science behind it, but applying it in the later years can be quite difficult. So if you start doing that from an early stage, it makes it easier when you get into wards to sort of link stuff in together, if that makes any sense.
Okay. So you